welcome to Freshly Served, the healthy vegan cooking show. I'm Heather, and tonight we're going to make a gravy. Mushroom gravy is probably one of the easiest vegan gravies to do, and I've had some requests to do a gravy recipe, so here we go. What I'm going to put mine over is some garlic mashed potatoes. So I've got some potatoes that I'm getting ready here, and what I do with my potatoes is I don't peel them when I'm going to do mashed. I like to have the peel in, and Phil does as well. So what I do is I take my potato and I rinse it, and then I just brush it with this potato scrubber and get the rough bits off. And then if there are any little eye bits, I cut them out because they can be toxic if you eat too many of them. So I'm just going to clean these off, cube them up, put them in some boiling water, and get them nice and boiled. The potatoes are now in the pot in water with a little pinch of salt to help them cook. And I should also mention that nutritionally vegetables hold their nutrients close to the skin, so that's why you don't want to peel them if it's not necessary. And scrubbing will just take the very surface layer off in certain areas and not the whole peel. Okay, let's move on to the gravy because I'm sure that's what you're all thinking about. And oh, one more thing for the potatoes. I've got the garlic in the oven. I'm roasting some zucchini to have with this dish tonight. So I've got two whole cloves of garlic in the oven roasting away. If you don't want to roast, you can saute them. You just need to do it separately from the gravy. Do it first and then take it out and keep moving on. Okay, so mushrooms is the base of our gravy tonight. And I'm using some brown mushrooms. These are mini portobellos. And what I'm going to do is slice them thinly and then saute them. And you'll often hear people tell you that you should never ever rinse your mushrooms, that you should just dry them off and get the dirt off that way. I figure that since it rains in the forest, if I rinse them quickly and then dry them off, they're fine. I find the taste just fine, but do whatever you like. What we'll do is we're going to saute them in a sauce pot so that we can then make the gravy as we go. So go ahead and chop up your mushrooms. Mushrooms take a long time to cook. They are going to get to a point here where they've released their juices. You might think they're done. They're not, especially for the gravy that we're making. We want them fully cooked, and especially when we're cooking this many mushrooms at once, it's going to take a while. So this has been about 10 minutes. And you can see all this liquid at the bottom. We want to wait until the mushrooms have reabsorbed all of that liquid. And if you're thinking that I used a lot of oil in this, I did not. Okay, this is the moisture that's come out of the mushrooms. See how they soften when that comes out? As soon as they reabsorb it, they're going to be fully cooked. So just leave them on the heat. You don't need to stir them. Just leave them cook. So check that out. That is what you're waiting for. There is no moisture left here. It's all been reabsorbed into the mushrooms or evaporated. And they are fully cooked, very soft, quite brown. So to finish this off, I've got some wine here. And this is actually white wine, but red wine, much better. We're going to pour about a quarter cup on here, and that will deglaze the pot, which means that all of the little mushroom bits on the bottom come up. So take your spoon and just scrape the bottom a little bit. Brings that flavor back into your gravy, as well as making the pot easier to clean later, which is a bonus. Okay, get all those bits up and then add some water. Not quite as exciting for flavor, but hey, that's what happens. And the last ingredient is some balsamic vinegar. If you can get the cap off. There we go. And that is a matter of taste, how much you want to put in there. Okay. stir it in. We're going to season with some salt and pepper. You don't need much salt, but you do need some because of these flavors, the wine and the balsamic and the mushrooms. You need to bring those flavors together, which is what salt does. I like quite a bit of black pepper, so I've put some in there. All right, back again. So what I'm gonna do is take, this is Japanese arrowroot called kuzu, and it comes as like a white, chunky kind of dried root powder. So you get some large chunks and some small chunks, and what you're gonna do is add some water to this, and then make sure that it's nice and smooth. Now if you can't find kuzu, it is kind of hard to find sometimes, you can use regular arrowroot powder, or you can just use a bit of flour. Any type of flour will work. Just dissolve it in a bit of water before you put it into the gravy. Otherwise, it will get chunky, and that's not nice. The ratio is usually 1 tablespoon of thickener, so whether it's the kuzu, the arrowroot powder, or the flour, to 1 cup of liquid. We don't have quite a cup of liquid in this gravy, but close enough. So pour that in there. And this is still on the heat. You're gonna stir that through and you'll see it thicken fairly quickly because it's still on the heat. So I've got this off the heat now, and you can see it's nice and creamy in here. The reason I like kuzu for gravy is that it makes kind of like a puddingy kind of jelly texture. Really nice for gravy. My potatoes are done, and I'll quickly show you my method for super creamy mashed potatoes. Just drain most of the water off there. And if you want to make them really creamy, use some beaters. Phil's mom likes to use the electric beaters that kind of, you know what I mean. I don't know what you call those. Beaters, I guess. I like to use the hand blender just because it's a little bit easier for cleanup. You wait until your potatoes are really nice and soft, and then just give it a quick blend here. If you want here, but I usually just use the water from the potatoes until it's the creamy consistency that I like. Get some salt in there for flavor and pepper. The garlic gets blended up with the potatoes. Give it a stir, and you're ready to go. So like I said, I've got some zucchini in the oven, baking to go on the side of this. We'll get a nice helping there. Get some gravy on top. Men especially love the gravy. My dad loves this gravy. There you go. I hope you enjoy. You can find the recipe at healthyveganrecipes.net. I'm Heather, and this is Freshly Served.